podcast, coming back at you guys again here with Randy Houston, and we've spoken of him many, many times. Catman, also known, a.k.a. Gato, joins us tonight. Gato, where are you right now?
I'm in a parking lot.
All right.
I was fixing to say it looks like it's just outside.
Yeah, I'm just kind of outside in a parking lot.
Gato's outside in a parking
It's
lot
probably
right
quieter than where you were.
Yeah, you got the karate studio in there. You don't want to hear some hi-ya coming through like last week or the week before. So, what's everyone been up to this week? I just asked Gato, you guys got some snow down there? People going off the roads?
It's gone now.
Oh, it's gone now.
You say it's gone, but I guarantee you I can go find a bucket full of snow like in 10 minutes.
I mean, yeah, in the shade, but it was also 50 degrees today, if not hotter than that.
Yeah, but this is Tennessee. This is where weather goes to change its mind.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. You see, they disclosed what the drones were.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was us.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, it was us. Shocker. It was us.
Yeah, it was FAA certified drones that they had. And then, of course, they said that, yeah, after all of the news got out, people were flying their own personal drones. Yeah, that added to it, which is kind of what they were saying before, but they were just poo-pooing all the original ones, too. I don't think they said the purpose of them, though, right? They just were like, yeah, they're ours.
They said something about scanning. They were testing a scan or something like that.
Testing new technology is what I heard.
Yeah, they were like, oh, they were
over Jersey?
Yeah. What's nearby there? I don't know what base is nearby.
I wouldn't know up there.
Yeah, not
off the top of my head. I got nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was reports they were talking about, like, you know, people are saying like they're the size of cars and stuff, that the ones they're seeing, they're moving so fast and also staying in the air for like a long, long time. But there was one apparently that landed in a parking lot, a mall parking lot, and someone got like a video of it, like a 30-second video of it going by, and it was like 2 cop cars and one was like between it, and it was like the size of the cop cars, but it looked like.
Oh wow!
But he said it looked like a normal, what you'd see as like a consumer drone, just like bigger.
Bigger.
Yeah. And it still had like the 4 rotors and stuff. And
did you see where Rogan today was talking to dude that said that he saw this alien?
Yeah. I was listening.
I figured
to it
you
today.
would.
Yeah.
Well, you're usually on top of it.
I was like, I recognize the one of the guys from the James Fox documentary that he just came out, like the Disclosure documentary. I forget what it was called. So at first, you know, if I don't recognize the names right away on like some of the podcasts, I was just like, I don't know. But then I recognized that one guy, and I was like, the hell are they on here for? It's the UAP task force guys, and I was like, this should be interesting.
Did you listen to it, Randy?
I did not yet. No.
It's so interesting what they're talking about.
It's like he walked up on this thing, and I know he said that its arms looked like kind of disproportionate to its body. Like it was kind of just sitting there swinging. He said that it's like the way you would lean into hurricane winds. That's the way this thing was walking. That's how he described it. And as they get closer, I don't know where he was in the vehicle, but I think it was his driver that pulled up and just started screaming like, he has no ears. He has no ears. And this blue alien,
And
like
big ass eyes. Look, what would they call, like the tall whites or something like that? Was what he was calling. I forget what he called that one, but he talked about the different, like the ebons, the tall whites. He mentioned the grays, and then he mentioned the ebons as something else.
Yep. They're supposed to be.
Where he started kind of losing me, and I'm just gonna say this, is when he guys started bringing up reptilians, and only because anytime reptilians come up in these conversations, it gets really wacky.
It gets real wacky real fast.
It does. Not that I'm like, again, I'm not here to discount anybody, but like,
I thought it was wacky from the first.
But like, he experienced something. You know, a lot of people experienced this. But he was saying that like anytime reptilians get brought up, people like shut it down, like don't talk about it and stuff. And it's like, but he brought up like the mantis insectoid ones. He was talking about all those.
Did you just listen to the whole podcast or something, or because
Yeah,
I didn't catch all that? Okay, so
oh yeah, I listened to most of it.
yeah, I just caught where he was talking about the encounter, which again, like he was saying that he pulled up next to this thing, and then
the craft.
it speaks to him in a language that he does not understand, but like
You can hear it.
telepathy, he did
Yeah.
understand it, and this thing was just asking for parts.
He was asking
then he was like,
for
maybe
trillium?
over here, and he like I think pointed to a base or something, and the thing was like, nah, not where those barbarians are.
Yeah, those barbarians and murderers are.
Yeah, that's what it was.
He was asking for, like, he said, like, trillium or tritium or something like that.
Yeah, he thought he'd mistaken it for
titanium.
And the
no,
alien was like, no, that's not what I'm looking for.
And he told him
It was looking for tritium?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
But he said, like, after the encounter was done, he looked around and everybody else that was in the vehicle with him, and they were just like drooling, like they were just zapped.
Mm-hmm.
No memory of it. So, it was a weird story.
It's cool though.
You get that, man. Like you get that a lot with you know close encounters. Is that they'll just turn you off. You know.
Well, from their perspective, I mean, would you rather have a bunch of humans going crazy?
I mean,
it's true. Makes it more manageable.
Mm-hmm.
They were bringing up some. There was some. They were talking about some theories about, you know, like, what if there's a civilization living here on Earth, right? And
crypto-terrestrials.
Yeah, what he was saying, he's like, but you know, if there's another civilization here, right, living alongside us, right, and an alien force is coming here, they were like, wouldn't you want them just to pay attention to the ones on the surface, or you know, like pay attention to the dumb apes up here, not us? Don't like. But they were talking about that there is like a civilization here with us. It was, they talked about a lot of things. It was interesting, to say the least.
Isn't that what Robert Bigelow said?
Yeah. Yeah, they're already.
Yeah,
They've been here. They've been here for a long time.
They're just
they call them breakaway
civilizations.
civilizations.
Mm-hmm.
Breakaway civilizations, yeah.
But how the hell do you stay that hidden, you know?
You're under the ocean, man.
I mean, I get that. But
I think that's why this hasn't been disclosed so easily. If you take a lot of this into account, right? This stuff is so complex. It's not just aliens. It's not just crypto-terrestrials. It's not just higher dimensional beings. It's all of the above. How the hell do you even start to relate that to the masses?
mm-hmm.
The level of insanity that's involved with all this.
You'd be like, you know, this whole history, right? Well, right over here in the ocean, there's been a whole advanced civilization going on, and we just go to the beach, you know? Like,
yeah.
We're parasailing over the top, and we're like, woo, on Sea-Doos. So I'm just like curious, are they watching our TV? That'd be wild. They're just watching our TV, like, hey, let's check out what's on Netflix. What are the humans talking about?
Why do you think they're calling us barbarians, man?
Yeah.
They're watching our tape television.
We're so primitive, we broadcast our signals through tubes.
Yeah. I mean, like, they talk about the Roswell incident, and it sounded like he wanted to, like he was mentioning Project Crystal Night with the exchange program, but they never really got there. But they did talk about like when Roswell happened, they retrieved the bodies, but they also like dissected them, and
yeah,
like there was a whole.
See, Roswell. If you go by the mythology of that, Roswell was supposed to be an Ebens that crashed.
Yeah,
and that was where we started making the deal to do the, like you were talking about, the exchange program.
Yep.
It supposedly happened in the 50s.
Which is like that document is like so interesting. Like when they put it out there, Project Crystal Night, like that read from all the accounts from the team that went there to the Even Homeworld is holy crap. Part of me is like, why hasn't anyone made a movie about this?
Right.
But I mean, like,
Hey,
Close Encounters of the Third Kind, like the ending of that movie is supposed to be the team that returns.
Yeah.
That was an amazing movie.
Oh yeah.
I cannot get Kayla to watch it.
Why
really?
not?
I don't know.
Is it because they
Oh
take
my
the kid?
God.
But yeah.
That's one of those movies that's just made for the big screen TV, like in high HD.
Oh, it's such a beautifully shot movie too. It's so good.
Yeah, it holds up.
Well, since we last recorded, we did get closer to getting the JFK files and everything. You see
Yeah.
all that?
So let's get some betting going on, guys. What do you think it's gonna be? Like, who do
It's
you?
going to say
Chances
multiple
are-
shooters, I think.
What's
I
that?
think it's going to say multiple shooters. I don't
Yeah.
think. I don't think it's going to explain who the multiple shooters are.
Yeah,
Oh, I think they're going to pin it all on the babushka lady.
probably. Just, I'm very curious to like how this is gonna get put out, and I know they have a deadline for the MLK files too, and Robert Kennedy's file as well. And I didn't even know like the Robert Kennedy thing was like there was something about that was like off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I saw that like the news thing for it, like the top comment was like, I'm 83 and I've been waiting so long for this to come out. It was like the top comment. I was like, holy crap. It's gonna be interesting.
I just hope we actually do know. Like, I don't want a bunch of redacted files, and it's like, oh, here's all the files, but you can't.
That
That's-
pisses me off so much. Like, yeah, and it's just like one sentence and it's all black. It's like, okay, but like that's
I'm
the point of
excited
this.
as long as we get to know. Like,
Yeah, I just want to know at this point, like, what the hell? It's been such a mystery and so theorized for so long and dissected left and right. It's interesting.
yeah, for sure.
It's like it's actually happening.
Have you guys ever heard of the theory that George Bush's dad, George W. Bush's dad, George Bush Sr., had something to do with the
Yeah.
assassination?
There's a documentary called Dark Legacy that talks about that.
I watched that. Yeah.
Yeah, that freaked me out. That freaked me out a lot. Watching that, I was like, ooh.
I didn't watch that, but I do know like the last time, and it may have been Trump, because I think that Biden did release some files too. But I think when Trump was last in office, and they were saying that may be one of the reasons that he wasn't releasing everything is because, again, I mean, at this point, you still have family that was involved.
Yeah, I get it. But I think it's just like the assassination of a president, man.
Yeah.
Like that needs. I think the public needs to know. I think the public deserves to know what the hell actually happened. And you don't know. It might be a bad day for the CIA. You know.
I will say that has been the most exciting thing about this entire Trump ordeal. Since he won.
All the secrets are coming.
What is legit, like the stuff that we are going to just like find out. The stuff that he's just like, I'm not BSing anymore. Like, here, we're just gonna be transparent about anything. Like, I watched the RFK stuff today because he was on, getting what is it called?
Grilled. Yeah, he was getting the ethics.
Yeah. And I mean, that's what he was talking about. He's like, one of my main goals is just to make this as transparent as possible. It's like, well, I'm not really a fan, but still, that's the right direction, I guess.
I want him to really release the Roswell files. Come on.
Yeah.
Like we're starting here. Like, what else you gonna release on us, man?
Yeah. If he doesn't come out with something along those lines soon, I think that's going to say a lot about the subject matter really deeply.
Mm-hmm.
Is even he won't declassify this stuff.
Yeah, because it might be. It's like what people say. It's like I think it's a lot weirder than we
Yeah.
actually can comprehend at this moment, which
I don't know
scares
why
the
he
shit
would.
up.
Like he cares so little
That's true.
about everything that it's like I don't know what would. Like I almost believe like what he was talking about when he was on Rogan, where he was just like, I'm not really interested by it. Like I don't know if that's true or not, but like again, the stuff that when he puts his mind to something, it's like good or bad. Like he usually,
Yeah.
puts his shoulder into it and gets it done.
Sorry. All right. Yeah. And then the AI DeepSeek came out. Did you guys see that?
What
No,
are
I'm
you
not.
talking about? The Chinese
No
thing?
idea what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New
about
kind
that
of rival to Chat. Well, actually, it just like destroyed Chat GPT.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they just figured out how to like run it on very low powered systems, and it's outperforming Chat GPT. It just kind of like tanked all of like the graphics, like graphic cards, like Nvidia's like stocks in one day and stuff. But they also made a recovery. It's been really wonky. But the other part about this AI DeepSeek is it's open source. So it's not like they're keeping it bottled up, I guess.
Yeah.
I haven't
I
messed with
hadn't
it,
heard
but
that. I've heard.
it just got released like Monday, I think.
Yeah, like that's the thing that China released, and everybody's saying like since TikTok's going to be banned, like this is the way everybody's going to sign up for China to get all their information again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point, if they don't have it, like
That's just it. Like it's not like our own damn country doesn't have every bit of our information from all the social media stuff we're involved with.
yeah, they're like these crazy fucks looking for Sasquatch. What if they're releasing all the UAP stuff just to distract us from Bigfoot? That's my
The thing that's freaky about, so again, the TikTok and this new thing, like the way they've talked about with China and TikTok specifically, was that this thing is tracking your keyboard all the time. Even if you have TikTok off, you've closed the app, it still is in your phone.
Mhm.
And when you go put in all of your passwords, when you go put in all of your ATM information and all of that, like, yeah, I get that there's going to be government here, United States government going to have
Yeah.
that stuff, but like, I don't really just want to free that up with China.
no.
Like they have specifically said, it's like if you ever had TikTok on your phone, you need to get a new phone. Like destroy that because it's still on there. Like the way that they track this stuff. So
What are they gonna do to me? I'm just curious what they're doing with it. That's my whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like what is China building
Like, are they making replicants of us?
AI based replicants based off us?
Start
So I'm all
replacing.
for that.
We needed to set up.
Trying to understand the Western mindset.
That means we need to set up some
oh,
passwords.
I think they understand us well.
We gotta have some
I
protocols.
don't think we understand us.
No, that's no.
Like I wear a cat suit and fight crime. Like I don't
No,
understand.
I get you. Yeah, they're probably still trying to figure you out, but
They're really tracking you, Catman. That's what they've been on you.
They
You're
are
definitely
like
Catman. You're definitely on a watch list. Like,
yeah, we've discussed that before. Like because I'm a superhero, I'm sure the FBI has files on me,
Oh,
and
they
then because I'm a
absolutely do.
LARPer, I'm sure they have files on me for that too.
Definitely.
Like I have like 2 or 3 different classifications through them now.
That's the Department of Homeland Security.
Yep. do you guys? Okay, we're gonna do the first spot, but coming up on our 3rd annual Wildman CryptidCon, happening this August. Do you think we're gonna start getting some Department of the Interior guys showing up at our convention? I have to say it. I have to say
Not
it.
till
Only if
next
we're
year.
lucky.
Not till next year.
Do you remember the first year I was like I should just walk in a suit and like sit down in the back of every like
We were gonna have Josh McBride do that.
Yeah, that's what it was. We're gonna have McBride do it. We're gonna have him just be walking around like in a suit, just like never saying
Gigantic
anything.
dude in a suit.
Then he just sits in the back.
I do think talking about AEDC puts us, a little bit higher in percentage of that happening.
I'm gonna start talking about UAPs there now. Huh. So, what are we getting into today? We have Catman here today.
I'm sure that I've been mentioned a few times, so if there's any stories that you guys stop telling because they're my story and you want me to tell it, because that's what I've been hearing, go ahead and start me off.
Well, let's start with, what was your first experience, out in the woods? Was it Randy taking you out into the? Because we're starting to find out Randy's being the catalyst for all this for us.
Randy is the catalyst for a lot of this. However, it wasn't until after he started getting me involved, I started putting two and two together and realizing that there were a lot of times, I spent 6 months, 8 months, something like that, homeless here in town, as a way to challenge myself, and also because rent is expensive. But there were times where I was in a tent and I would hear something in the middle of the night throwing things at my tent. But when you're in that state, you're on high alert. You're listening for every single little sound, every noise. And I never heard people. I never heard deep breathing. I never heard the shuffling of gravel underneath someone's foot. And there were times where that's all I should have been able to hear because I was on the railroad tracks. But something would throw things at me. And then once we started regularly going out into the woods, and I realized that they will throw rocks at you because they threw rocks at Manning. It was like, wait a minute, maybe they didn't like where I was at. And then I started thinking, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe that stuff can't happen in town.
That's what I was going to ask. So this was in town when this was happening to you?
Yeah, I would be on the outskirts of town. Sometimes I'd be in wooded areas. Sometimes I'd be in people's backyards, and they just wouldn't know I was there because a lot of people have really big backyards. And my tent was blacked over. I had sewn a bunch of black material to the outside of my tent, so middle of the night you couldn't find it if you didn't know where it was. It was just a little mound. But there have been other times. One time, my mom called me over to her apartment because she was hearing, after having heard all the stories from us, or from me, she was hearing what she thought was wood knocks behind her apartment. And so I went out there and I was thinking, maybe it's her imagination. Maybe she's just overthinking things. I started listening and I heard them. So I called Randy and I was like, you need to come down here and check this out. And to his credit, he did exactly that. But when he showed up, he didn't bother to come inside. He didn't want to talk to mom. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He wanted to go where the action was right then and there. And that's what we did. We went out into a field and we wood knocked thinking this cannot be. And then it was. It was definitely a wood knock that we were hearing. And we searched further up and found out that there was a property in that area that had been abandoned for years. That from a realtor's standpoint, it didn't make any sense because it's prime real estate. It's 3 blocks from Walmart. It's right across the street from a fire department. The house itself was 2-story. It had a barn. It had storage buildings. It had cars on it, and somebody just abandoned it for years. And we came up behind it, and the back wall looked like something had just shoved the entire window frame and all inside, and then the weather had been pulling leaves in for years. But behind the back of that building, we found a nest. We should not have found a nest. Not there, not in town.
Now, when you say a nest,
Also,
you mean like a wallow, right?
Yeah,
what we
like
found
something
deeper
had been weaving bushes together, trees together to make a blind, and then there was a large hollowed out area where something very big had been nesting.
Gotcha.
And that's also Google pictures, Google Photos. I had been searching for a long time because there was a night, I couldn't remember what night, and I just recently found out it was November 11th of 2018. 3:30 in the morning, I'd gotten off work from Taco Bell and I was headed back to my apartment. on that same block, on the sidewalk, as I'm walking down the street, a very large piece of meat somehow found its way directly in front of my path. And it was so fresh, it was still steaming. I took pictures of it, and I took pictures of size reference with one of my corncob pipes to show that it was twice the length of a standard corncob pipe. So it was maybe a foot,
Was it
maybe
like
14 inches long.
Was it just like a leg of an animal?
No.
It was just like a piece
If I
of.
had to describe it, I would say that it was a piece of meat that had been chewed up and then spit back out.
Really?
I can send you the photo and the video that I took, because I immediately thought to take a picture, for size reference, and thought to make a video so that I could show in reference where I was at. You could barely tell where I was at because, you know, it's 3:30 in the morning, but you could see the street lights, and I can pinpoint on a Google map exactly where I was. Now, the following morning, when I got up in the morning and I took off for my morning walk, I thought there would be a piece of meat still there. I thought there would be blood, there would be a stain, there would be something. There was nothing. There was no trace of this thing by the next morning. So whatever left it there, left it for me, and then took it because I didn't take it. To this day, I feel like I should have at least taken a bite out of it.
Is that like your normal during that time, right? Was that your normal route home?
I had 4 normal routes home, depending on what day it was and what time I got off.
I know
because there's certain people that I would
know
come
you're
see.
out there patrolling and stuff.
Yeah. So like, it wasn't necessarily normal for me to go that route. Normally, I would take the back way, past the fairgrounds to get to my apartment, and I would completely have gone all the way around that. Nobody would have. So it was just random chance that I was walking through there on Veterans Day, giant piece of meat.
And you said it was steaming, so it was fresh.
Yeah, it was still hot. It was still fresh. There's no way to tell what kind of meat that was. Randy is having a blast.
You're right,
I don't know why.
dude. Now, just so the audience knows, of course, we've mentioned Catman a bunch on the show. So he's one of the guys that are always out with us in these areas. You actually, Gato, I want you to talk about the night when me and Randy were. Remember, I came down and we went and spent the night at the quarry, and we like bullied you into leaving work and hiking up at night.
You didn't bully me. You dared me. And you're one of the few people that I respect enough where if you dare me to do something, I'm probably gonna do it.
I found that out that trip when we were up there. I remember saying to Randy, he was like, Gato's gonna come up here. I was like, no, he's not. He's working till 2 in the morning. He's not gonna come out here. And he's he's gonna come out here. And then
So I had it worked out with my boss that she was gonna give me a ride to that quarry after we got off work at 2 o'clock in the morning. And when I got there, it was raining.
Did she I know a lot of people in town knew you. Did she ask any questions when she just dropped you off on the side of the road at the trailhead?
Nope. My management knew me very well and knew that there are possibilities that crazy random stuff like that will happen when I'm involved. And
you're like,
she
my buddies are just up there camping in a cave.
Gave me a ride to another town and dropped me off in the middle of nowhere and was like, yep, I'll see you at work tomorrow.
Yeah, that trailhead is kind of out there in the middle of nowhere.
It's kind of standard fare for me. So I get dropped off.
Yeah.
And it is raining, but it's not like a hard rain. It's a drizzle, right? It's just enough to be annoying. But I have an umbrella. I've got a trench coat on that I made myself at the time. I've got knife. I've got cell phone, and I've got an umbrella. I'm going to go see my friends. They said, yeah, I dare you. I don't think you're going to come up here to this cave. Yeah, you know what?
I like how you're trying to make this sound logical.
No part of this is logical. Like people don't dare people to go meet them when they're out camping. That's just a weird thing. But I roll with the punches because that's me. So
I didn't think, I was like, nah, he wouldn't do that. I was like, the storm is coming, all that, until we ran into someone that, the next day, as we told the story on the last podcast, that was, they had to pick you up soaking wet on the side of the road.
So yeah, I started walking into the woods. I knew where my paths were, but they weren't there anymore. As I started traversing into the woods, I realized that there were some trees knocked down. And after taking a couple of feet step back to get a better view of what I was looking at, I realized that they'd made another kill box. And we'd already seen one in that area before.
Yeah.
And about the time that I realize I'm about to walk into a kill box, something from behind me roars at me. Like a full, deep-throated simian roar. And my first instinct was to run. But if I had ran, I would have ran further into the kill box. So I stopped where I was, and I turned around, and I said, I have to go that way, and I gestured back the way I came.
Catman,
and I was like,
you could have proven that the kill box was real if you had run into it, though. We would have found you the next day.
You would not have found me.
Just the cat hat.
If a piece of meat can disappear, like little old me, just gone. Like, that's it. So it roared at me, and I started looking around, and I was so far into the woods, I couldn't really see any signs of civilization. And then way off in the distance, I see a street light. And I'm like, that's civilization. I'm going to head that way. So I start walking that way, and I start feeling more and more nervous because I just walked backward toward where the roar came from. And I start walking faster, and I realize I'm starting to head downhill, but I can see a fence and a field opening in front of me. And I know from the angle that I'm running down the hill, if I take off running, even though it's wet, I can jump the fence and land on the other side.
It was downpouring that night, too.
It was downpouring at that point, yes. It started off as a drizzle, and it got heavier and heavier as I kept going through the night.
That this man trekked into the woods in the middle of a massive thunderstorm on the side of a mountain.
Yes, man. I did all of those things.
So, yeah.
So I take off running for the end of this field, and I jump. And like for a split second, I swear I wish I'd had somebody there with a camera because it would have been so cool. I did like this flying kick thing to get over it. It was like Frank Miller's Batman for a second, just for a second. And then I feel something pull on my shoulders as I'm in the air, and I realize the back end of my trench coat, my handmade trench coat, is now stuck on a thin layer of barbed wire that's coming up over the fence that I couldn't see. So it yanked me by my neck, by my shoulders, down. And I landed on top of an electric fence. And every few seconds, it just jolted me and jolted me and jolted me. And I got up.
Oh, my God.
And I realized that during my crazy, super heroic jump over a fence, I have, how when you're holding an umbrella and there's strong winds, it'll blow your umbrella backwards?
Yeah,
it did that. So my umbrella was shot. I lost my knife. I lost my phone. And I'm now in a field.
Because we were calling
running from a Sasquatch.
We were trying to call you.
Yeah. Good luck on that working. So I start walking through this field, and I start hearing like a low rumble off to my right. And I look, and I see this mass on the field moving, and I realize it's cows. I'm in a cow pasture. And there's a bull, and he doesn't like me, and he starts snorting and stomping, and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not afraid of you. If you come running at me, I'm going to run toward the wood line, and you can battle it out with the Squatch, and I'll get away. But the bull never charged at me, and I made it to the road. I was very disappointed because my mission was supposed to be finding you two in a cave, and I didn't get to make it all the way to the cave.
We were in the cave.
So then I walked all the way back to McMinnville, freezing my ass off in pouring down rain, holding a broken fucking umbrella in front of me to try and block some of the wind, just a little bit. And I walk in to Waffle House because it's the only place open at that time of night. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning at this point. And I make it to Waffle House and I walk in and one of the cooks says to me, "Wow, is that your Charlotte or something? Some kind of baseball bat reference from The Walking Dead I didn't get because I don't watch that show." And I just kind of looked at him.
Lucille is what they're talking
Lucille.
Lucille, there you go. He's like, "Is that your Lucille?" And I just gave him this dead fuck you look. And, then I walked back to Mom's and I went to sleep and woke up to find out that you guys were worried about me because you didn't know where I was at. Because you couldn't find me because I didn't have a phone at that point. So I had to walk back over to Randy's place and prove to you that I did what I said I was gonna. I tried.
Yeah, and then you showed up at Randy's. And we're like, "Hey, man." We're like, "We've been trying to call you."
Yeah, and you guys are just leisurely sitting there, you know, toes tapping in the wind with your socks on, sitting up on the couch. Like, "How are you? You look like hell."
I'm like, "We were up in the cave, man. What happened?"
I didn't know we was going to get these stories tonight.
This was almost exactly like the morning that you guys showed up. After we had seen one, and then you dared me to spend the night in the cabin, and then the next morning you guys come to get me, and I haven't slept because they were throwing rocks the size of cantaloupes at my cabin all night.
Yeah, that was.
They weren't quite the size of cantaloupes.
It was.
They were almost. If they were grapefruits, if anything.
There was.
Yes, but you're a giant. When you make a fist, that's a grapefruit.
Oh well.
There was. So Catman was with us during the big trip at the campground because you stayed with us for
4 days.
Most of it, right?
I was. You guys were there a week. I was there 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah. So we made Gato stay in the cabin where the witnessing happened some years ago. And after the first night, I remember we went in and woke him up. And he's like, "I just went to sleep." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "They were throwing rocks at the cabin all night." And he goes, "I couldn't go to sleep." And I was like, "All right." So then I stayed in the cabin with you, I think the next night.
Nope, not the next night. The night after that. The next night, you gave me recording equipment, and I didn't know how to turn it on.
Yeah, so then
I
had
to
to
stay night, you spent the night in the cabin with me, and recording equipment be damned, you won't wake up.
Yeah, no. The Squatch would have had to have taken me at that point. The recording's funny because you're like, Manning, wake up. And I'm like, "What?"
Hilarious.
And I'm like,
"It's
what?
hilarious. That recording is hilarious."
You're like, they're throwing stuff at the cabin.
Honestly, I feel like that
oh.
audio clip could be great for like the beginning of this show. Like it'd just be me, Manning, wake up. Manning, they're here. And you're like, "Yeah, let me know when they come inside." Roll back over.
Let me know when they come back inside. I remember I rolled over, I looked at the audio equipment and saw it was still running.
To make sure it was running.
And I just rolled back over and I was like, "Tell me when they come inside." Because it's just
I'm crouched behind the window like this is the Alamo and I'm defending my life and you're just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go back to sleep, man."
Well, when I came down and stayed with you, you had set up the bunks like in the center of the room.
Yeah, I pulled all the mattresses off.
And you had set up a bunk in the middle, and when I set up on the bunk, I realized I was like, I'm right next to the window. And I remember I just pulled.
That's why I moved all the mattresses to the center of the room. Because I kept thinking they're just.
We're staying in a matchbox, is what we're staying in. If they want to come in and take us, we're just.
Like that's like hiding kittens in a cardboard box.
Yeah,
like we would have been taken.
And this is the cabin too, where you guys saw all the writing where people were putting on there. It's
well,
like,
and it was that night was when Catman. We were sitting there. I think there's video recording of it. I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette in the cabin in front of the camera, and Catman's in the back, and you can see him reading stuff. And he's like, "Have you read the stuff on the wall?" I was like, "Yeah, like Sally loves Johnny 89 and stuff." And he's like, No. Look at
the
this
stuff behind the mattresses.
He's like, we started pulling off all this stuff and seeing all the
beware the falls monster.
The falls monster. We're hearing whooping in the woods.
If you feed it chocolate, it'll leave you alone.
Yeah, and then we found him in all the cabins throughout the years and all the different times that kids have been there and stayed there. And that was our last day at the site when we discovered that, and that really freaked me out at the very end when I was like, we got to get pictures and document it all, and because it kind of like proved a bunch of shit that had happened that weekend or that whole stint that we were there. Yeah, it was a wild time. That was a wild trip. Now, we had a question from last recording, talking about caves and stuff, because we were talking about the cave systems, and just so people at home know, Gato's like our team spelunker. So when we find caves and stuff, he's the one that kind of goes down in there.
Anything that we don't want to risk, Catman's always like, "Yeah, I'll go." And so
Yeah, why not?
he's come in.
I mean, one of us has to, and if I'm going to draw the short straw, I might as well proudly
Here's
display
the thing
my
is,
short straw.
I need to preface: none of us have to do this stuff.
Okay, I know you feel like you don't have to do this stuff, and that's great, but there's a part of me that like woke up the first time that I heard a squatch, and I don't feel like I'm in danger around them as much as I should. And I feel like that's what pushes me. It's that, like, yeah, I could die, but one of you's going to get it on film.
That's the other thing.
Look,
I've never
we
felt
need to go
endangered.
over. We need to go over his sighting. He never actually has went over his sighting, with us before.
Okay, let's. How about Catman? You walk us into that and tell us about that. Start from the beginning there. Like seriously, yeah.
Okay.
What happened?
Right.
Where were you? What year was it?
It was 2016. It was August 8th.
Hey, real quick, I wouldn't get super specific. Like, we're trying not to name like the location of where we go.
Yeah.
Right. You said specific dates.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when all this happened. We had been experiencing regular activity in that area. Randy had, and he got me involved in it 3 months before that in June, because something had thrown a rock at him. And naturally, he was freaking out. I would have been freaking out if I had seen that and got it on film. And I asked a question when we were watching the video, is like, why don't we see where it rolled from?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, let's go. So like, hop into the vehicle and head on all the way down there. And when we started checking out where the rock came from, that's when we started seeing really, really, really weird tree signs and arches and structures in the woods in that area. And at first I was having problems believing it, but something is clearly knocking to respond to us, and that's not a thing a bird does. That's not a thing a deer does. So Randy arranged for us to have this trip. Like, he was going to go up there for a week, and I was like, yeah, I can get 4 days off. I will definitely be there. And when I showed up for it, once we got everything settled in, y'all were experiencing things as soon as I got there.
Well,
Like,
we experienced stuff within the first 30 minutes of being there when we unloaded. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're all itching to go out there in the woods. And then when we came back toward the evening, one of us made a suggestion that we should try going out there at night. And that evolved very quickly into us getting a flashlight and a floodlight and a GoPro and skulking around in the dark like a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah, we went out like very Scooby-Doo.
It's very Scooby-Doo.
We had like
we were
the
giggling.
big loom, massive loom flashlights and spotlights and stuff.
Yeah, I think it was like 3,000 looms.
I was like, we're gonna burn the retina
when you turned it on.
It was awesome.
So we start trekking our way out there, and the whole time we're giddy. Like, I feel like that's a good way to explain how we were feeling up to that point.
Yeah, that was interesting. We were pretty excited when we went out. We were like, we're gonna do this.
Like we were about to sneak into Christmas gifts or something.
Yeah.
And when we got out there, I just want to point out, Manning and Randy and Houston, and I think Mark, pretty much everybody, is taller than me. Like, that's an important part of this story. You guys are taller than me. because
a
you
feat for
saw
me.
it before I saw it. And I couldn't see it because I'm short. So any awe or wonder that I had immediately faded away to like frustrated tension, because so many times in my life I've been in situations where I couldn't see something because I'm not tall enough. And it got me agitated, and I started asking if I could go into the woods
The footage
to
is
get a
funny.
confirmation as to that's what we're seeing, because I was like, that can't be what we're seeing. There has to be a coyote. I can take a coyote. Let me in there. Just let me go on in there. And finally, Randy said, go. So I went. And I wasn't mentally prepared for what I saw,
Yeah.
but it put me in enough shock that I feel like that's what helped us get back to the camp, because once I made it into the brush, I was expecting to see a Sasquatch standing up. I was not expecting to see a Sasquatch on all fours. I was expecting to see a male. I was not expecting to see a young female like that. None of that was, it blew my mind. And about the time I get over there to her, she crawled backwards about 15, maybe 20 feet, and then stood up.
Let me set this up a little bit more for the audience, just so people know. So we had gone out, and what had happened is we caught some eye shine in the wood line. Just I want to say what, like 30 yards,
About 60 feet.
60
About 60
feet.
feet.
Yeah, it wasn't that far off the trail. Through the camera lens, we were catching what looked like an eye and something kind of peeking up over kind of a mound with some
Between two
branches.
logs.
Yeah, between two logs.
Yes.
The footage was, I mean, you can kind of see it, but I mean, it's one of those hard things. So Catman started, I want to go in, because we were having trouble figuring out what the hell it was and all that. And Catman went in. So I remember you going in, and I remember you stopping at the log.
Yeah, because she was looking at me.
And that's when we were like, do you see it? And he goes, it's looking right at me. It was like, it's looking right at me, Ray.
Yep.
And I remember,
Ghostbusters moment.
yeah. So yeah, tell us now what you saw there.
I was not expecting what I had seen. What I saw was a fully grown, hairy woman with very, very large eyes crawling around. She deadlocked on me, like her face was like motionless, but like locked on me. She started walking backwards on her hands and feet, not on her knees, on her feet. And it was very much like a lizard crawl, but she didn't make any noise moving backward, like none at all. Then she stood up, and I realized when she stood up, because I hang around taller people all the time, I could definitely tell that she was taller than me, but not as tall as Randy. And about that time, I heard you guys say, you need to get back to the path. Something on the other side just growled at us.
Yeah.
And I remember stopping and taking in the smell, and actually saying the words, take in the smell, because I remember you asking me later on what it was that I'd said. And it was, I don't know why, in that moment, I wanted to know what they smell like, and I was close enough to smell one. So then we start to head back to camp from where we were, and that's like, what, 3-4 miles from camp? And
it was a couple miles in. Which, if you think
after having
about it,
been,
in the middle of the night, that we just ventured out into the fucking wilderness like that.
Yeah, that's a long ways.
Yeah, we're not necessarily a bright people. Let's go poke a bear.
I look back at some of that trip and I was like, what were we thinking?
We were not as crazy as the one girl in the red dress that tried to get herself squatch ducted.
Oh yeah, that was yeah.
Yeah, like that was
bride of Squatch there.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what it took to get this story, though, I mean, would you do it again?
Absolutely.
Would you go out there, Manning?
Would I do it?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I would have to. I'm chasing that high again still, man.
I would prefer to do it with the knowledge that I have now, because if I knew
Exactly.
what I know now, I would have had the camera working right,
Well,
and we would have the most amazing footage you'd ever seen.
We would have.
So what did it smell like? Do you remember?
Like if you took a wet dog and ran it through old cheese.
Ugh.
Okay, that's distinctive.
Yeah, it's a very distinctive odor. Like I've smelled it a couple of times since then. I've smelled it up on the land. I think you have too, actually.
We
but,
smelled, well, what we smelled was pretty putrid, but yeah.
So older cheese. But I had been studying anthropology and primate behavior a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In the time between the first time I heard one in June and the first time I saw one in August. And at that point, I knew that you two were very, very, very vocal and excited because holy crap, we just saw one. And in the back of my mind, the first thing that ran through my head was the documentary I watched where they went to go meet up with Michael Jackson's monkey after he had grown up.
Oh, yeah.
Bubbles? And Bubbles, yes. Bubbles, yes. And Janet Jackson went in, and Bubbles immediately recognized her and started flipping out. And then all the rest of the monkeys in the cages started flipping out because the first one was flipping out. And in my mind, that scenario played through with us getting eaten on our way back to camp because we were flipping out. So I made myself calm, and I made sure that we were calmly walking out of the mountain or off that site. And then we made it back to the mess hall, and you dared me to spend the night in the cabin by myself. And I was like, well, screw you and your dare. I'm going to do it. So I did. I went down to cabin C all by myself.
Yeah, cabin C.
And I was thinking, well, that was a really exciting night. We don't have anything else to worry about now. We're going to be fine. And I went down to lay in the bunk. Actually, the bunk that you chose, the one on the left.
Yeah.
I figured there would be no problem. And I went to go lie down, trying to calm myself down. And as soon as I closed my eyes, something threw a rock at the cabin. And in my head, it was like, these aren't real windows. Like, if I wanted to punch my way through this window, it would not be hard. So it would be a cakewalk for a giant hominid to just steal me. And then that's it, the end of Catman's story.
If we had come down in the morning and just Catman's gone.
So I took all of the mattresses off and I put them in the center and I tried to sew to get myself bored enough to fall asleep. And I swear to you, every single time my head dropped below 45 degrees, they threw another rock. They did not want me to sleep. And I get it. I scared a female in their tribe.
Probably.
My bad.
Or you impressed her. And she was trying to say, hey, what's up? What you doing late at night? Yeah, come on back.
A lot of people who I've told this story to told me that I should have taken advantage of the situation and become like the squad alpha male.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not how that works.
That's been our whole goal, Catman, is eventually just hook you up with a Squatch wife, and then we can track you.
Well, they definitely like my property on the mountain better than my apartment.
So you have like a place up on the mountain.
Yeah.
Have you've had experiences up there? I've been up there. You got a nice little area of land.
And it's been very weird. But I mean, I guess that if you put yourself in their backyard, you
yeah, if you're gonna put yourself on the mountain, man,
your fault.
Yeah, you almost need to explain though, like how secluded this place is, because it's crazy.
Randy's my nearest neighbor, and he's never home. And then, like, my other neighbor, bless her heart, she recently lost her husband, and she can't really. I don't really know what she does up there, honestly, other than watch TV. But she's like maybe a half mile to 3/4 of a mile away from me.
Yeah, you can barely tell, like, when I went up there and we, like, pulled over and you're like, right here, and it's just, like, went between two trees, and I was like, oh, there's a building here and stuff. There's no, like, indication. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the properties are almost exactly 20 miles from the closest 3 communities. So it's the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And basically it's right on the Trail of Tears, an old part of the Trail of Tears. It's 450 acres of wooded, mainly pine and spruce, but it's up against 3,500 acres of Rocky River Gorge, which has completely never been touched, except back during World War II, they used to bomb the shit out of it.
That's where they did like the test.
Artillery tests.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much so that some of the properties up there still have unexploded ordnances.
Have you now up on your property, Gato? Have you had like seen one come up close, or have you just heard them, or any indications of stuff?
A friend of mine actually did. First year that we had the land, he was up there and he said he saw something moving around behind one of the trees, maybe 30 feet from the entrance to my bushcraft house.
Yeah.
So he decided he didn't want them sneaking up on him, and he cut down about 50 trees between there and the stream to make sure that they wouldn't be able to sneak up on him again, which was kind of stupid because then they had more stuff to hide behind. If they're crawling around, that would have been like just the easiest thing to just sneak up on him.
That's like the first indication we know something is like when the property owners start cutting back the tree line. You're like, what's going on?
There was also a situation where I went up there and there was a deer carcass that had been almost completely stripped. It was just a rib cage and a spine and a couple of pieces of meat on it. There were no legs. There was no head. It was just part of a carcass on the end of the road. And then February 2020, I was up there by myself. It was freezing, and I didn't want to freeze to death, so I decided I was going to start a fire. But all of my wood was frozen. I don't know if you've ever started a frozen fire.
Nope.
All the ice and water inside the wood creates steam. So in a short amount of time, I steamed up the entire valley. But it was also apparently hunting time. And so a squatch in the woods roared at me because they love doing that, because that's just my luck. And at that point, I grabbed my cat and I was like, hey, we're going to sleep now. And ran into my tent and hid.
And hid?
What else was I going to do?
Yeah, what else are you going to do?
Like, I had a machete.
Yeah. So now, Randy, you got, like you said, a neighbor up there. Have you had any experience?
We've had a footprint up there once that was about 17.5 inches long on the creek bed. And we've smelled on numerous occasions, about 3 times. We were cooking outside, and something approached. We heard something approach the campsite. Me and Nova did, and there was this awful putrid stench, and it's the only time I've ever smelled that anywhere. Like, never smelled it up our primary site where we have all the activity. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't see anything, but it seemed like something very stinky came up and was looking at the campsite. Nova kept telling herself she kept saying it's a bear. It's like, I feel a lot more.
Did you all at one point describe it as a dinosaur?
Well, she actually went out. Yeah, at one point she went outside to relieve herself in our outhouse, and as she was coming back to the RV, she said that as she was coming back inside, she said something outside moved next to the RV, and she described it as sounding like her words, a fucking dinosaur.
That's
didn't Ian one time something?
Oh God, yes.
It was knocking in.
What happened?
Yeah, so twice we've had 2 things happen with Ian up there. Once Ian started knocking on it, he picked up a hatchet and started. Yeah, you guys were up there when that happened, weren't you?
Yeah.
He started whacking on a piece of wood, and off in the woods, something starts knocking back. And so Ian sits there and does like 4. It does 4. He does like 5. It does 5. And finally this thing does like 10 in a row, and a
Oh,
big
wow.
loud whack at the end, and the big loud whack was like really, really loud, and that was it. Like I didn't do it anymore after that. It was almost like it signed off with that big loud whack, like I'm done.
It's like you're not making any sense.
Yeah, but
I don't understand your accent.
Called him his Bigfoot buddy.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, Ian just come over and said, "Are you talking about that?" And then there was a time where we had just gotten this new cat up on the land named Clyde, and he was hiding from the other cats under a blackberry bush. And Ian wanted to see this cat, and so I told him, like, go over there to the side over there, and that's usually where the cat hangs out underneath the bush, and you probably see him. So he walks over to the other side of this bush.
Yeah, get your son.
He's kind of on a hill there above the creek bottom, and as he's sitting there looking into this bush, down in this creek bottom, something goes whoopee, whoopee, and then down on the creek farther behind my house, whoopee, and then down the creek even farther down behind my house, whoopee, and then a fourth one does it, but the fourth one sounds like 10 times deeper than the other ones.
Whoopee.
Like whoopee. And then just go, the woods just go quiet. And again, I didn't see anything. I didn't see what made those sounds, but it gave the impression of like it was like a cursory, like, hey guys, we're down here.
Yeah.
Just get your kid out of here. And if you track that creek bottom where all of those whoopies came from, across from our old hunting lease, and it was during that time of the year where the hunting lease was active.
Yeah.
And so if you were to shoot any kind of deer and it came running across the road to get off the hunting lease, it would have come for the creek bottom, and you'd had those guys down there waiting in the creek bottom for the deer. Get them like that.
Yeah, it's been a theory of ours during hunting season. They just wait around because we've gotten reports of like hunters getting their kills taken, or having a witness, like they come up on the kill and then something comes out and just picks up their kill and walks off.
Yeah,
which is wild.
Yeah, we've also had wood knocks up there at the property.
Yep.
When we first moved up there, we actually went for a walk one day, and as we were leaving the cabin to go into the woods, across the road from us, there was three knocks. There's three of us, which made it feel like it was letting us know there was three of us in the woods.
I mean, we've had that happen to us so many times, just you and me, and they'd be like the first day on the campground when we showed up, and we were just unloaded, and right next to the cabin was whack, whack. The amount of times we've gotten the number of whacks the minute we enter the wood, it matches the number of people with us.
Yeah, yep.
Damn. A lot of strangeness. Is there anything else? Anything else you'd like? Any other experiences, Catman, you want to talk about that we missed?
There was a night where I was shutting everything down and getting ready to go to bed up there, and south. I'm wanting to say south of my entrance so it would be between my road and the road next to me, in the woods. I swear there was a fucking werewolf howl. And I don't know how to explain or describe that because I don't believe in werewolves. But also, we only regularly have coyotes in that area. Not wolves, nothing bigger than coyotes, except maybe the bear. But the bears don't make noises like that. It almost sounded like a cinematic, like wolf howl,
like an actual, like something that would be used in a movie, like a
yes, yeah.
That was actually pretty good.
Yeah, but that's not what you expect to hear up on that mountain. And if you hear something like that, normally it's accompanied by two donkeys being very angry.
Yeah.
And it was not accompanied by donkeys, so I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah, one of our neighbors owns a couple of donkeys, and you actually hear the donkeys regularly getting in fights with coyotes.
Really?
Oh
Yes, it
yeah,
is
yeah.
at
You'll
least
hear,
once a night.
and the donkeys win every single time.
Every single time between 11 and midnight.
Just
Yeah.
stomp out these coyotes.
Yeah. Like,
These
I don't know
young
what else
coyotes- these
is
young
on their
coyotes
field,
come
but
up
those
and-
donkeys are, they're the #1 protector on that mountain.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
You
wild.
get these up and coming coyotes that are young, these young upstarts that are trying to start packs.
Yeah.
And I think they actually think that, like, hey, this is how you prove yourself. Go fight the donkey.
That's their society. Like, you got to go tangle with the donkeys. That's your canonization to be into the pack. Go get your ass kicked over there. Ah.
Rite of passage.
Yeah, basically. Oh. Well, any closing statements, my friends?
I hope to be on again.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate the opportunity. We still haven't, like, there's so many things that we still haven't covered. So
Oh,
I guess
We say
we'll
that.
have to
We
be
say
back
that
on.
every time.
Yeah, we have so much we're going. Every episode we're like, oh, I gotta add. We gotta talk about that. We gotta talk about that.
So yeah,
Right,
you
so-
guys. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to mention that maybe next time we could mention the movie theater.
I think
Oh yeah,
we can talk about
forgot
that.
about that. Yeah,
There's
Yeah, because that was weird too.
that was a weird.
that
one
was in
too.
town too.
That
was in town too.
I think I actually flew down the week after that happened. We had like that Ghostbuster moment. I came over, and then Catman came over, and he's like, "You tell Josh about the movie theater," and Randy's like, "I don't want to talk about the movie theater." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What about the movie
Yeah.
theater? What happened at the movie?" I was like, "What about the Twinkie?" Yeah, we'll talk about that when we have you on next, because that was interesting. Yeah, when you start to realize it gets closer to home than you want it to be. Houston, did you have something you wanted to say, man?
Yeah, I was going to say we do have the, I guess, interview that Randy did right after you saw this thing when you were up, and like he was talking about, that's when you thought you had the video and you described this thing. Is it the next morning or is it that night?
I think it was the next morning.
It was the next morning when we started recording for that.
Because
we'll have to,
we went out there because I was like, we need to go back to that spot and look at.
And they came to get me first thing in the morning, and I hadn't slept.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to like include that in here somewhere, just like
Yeah.
a link or something. Just so, I mean, again, that was how many years ago?
That was back in
2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next year will be 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, we
Cool.
just publicly
Good
showed the
God.
footage from that. Yeah.
Yeah,
From
next
that.
year will be 10 years.
Yeah, dude. 10-year journey on this. The Squatch Trail.
This is our
Dang,
9th
man.
year since that happened.
That
Yeah.
just made me age more than my kids.
It's been quite the journey, though. Yeah. That was a good episode. Catman, thank you for coming out and sharing that. We'll have you on again, of course, as you're part of the Fortean, Tennessee field research team. But I think that wraps us up for tonight, everyone. Thanks for listening. Have a good night.